off, but I can't tell you how excited. What is going on?
Epic Gaming Night is made possible by the support of patrons like you.
All right, I'm muting myself.
Welcome to the Epic Gaming Night podcast, a podcast about the stories and relationships people create or board games create, whatever. Matt is here.
Hello.
And Rob is here, and he has muted himself, but now he's unmuting himself. What's up?
Now I am unmuted. Am I good?
You're good. I love how we're like mid-intro, and you're like, I'm muting myself. I'm like, we got it.
Crap, bro.
I'm leaving it in there. I could go back and edit it, but, you know.
What is Darth saying?
I think Darth's trying to do some sort of pyramid scheme or something. He's saying something about prices and boxes and batteries. I don't even know what's going on, guys.
That's new a math problem.
Oh, nice. If someone has 37 batteries and 17 combs, I don't even know what's going on. Hype! Well, today we're talking about events and encounters in games. Not necessarily events you go to, but events that happen in games. But before that, is there any news you guys want to talk about? I don't really have too much crazy news that I saw.
News? Wasn't there some new stuff that just launched, or did we already talk about that?
We hadn't talked about too much. I mean, there was a couple of interesting things that were announced, but I was like, eh. I just want to know. I tagged you in a thing on Twitter because I was wondering if you were going to get in on that Project Elite now that they're trying to suck you in, making it work compatible. No. They're not going to trick you?
No, I've learned my lesson. I got the bill in the mail for what it's going to cost me in January to take over the business, and so
you're like, board games.
I'm on my best behavior.
I'm worried about houses right now.
Yeah, I am not worried about the crossover because I'm not even going to back Project Elite. I would do it if I was going to back Project Elite, right?
Well, did you back? How much of Invaders did you back?
I did a good chunk of Invaders. I think there was like a couple of like special characters and stuff I didn't get, but I got like the big expansion and some other stuff. Man, I'm still pretty ticked about some other stuff. Like the Edge Downfall, I wanted to back that. There were some other games I wanted to back.
Yeah, there's some pretty cool games on Kickstarter right now.
Yeah, but man, that's that same stupid company that did Lords of Hellas, and I still haven't gotten any of my Lords of Hellas stuff.
That's kind of rough when a company has like 3 games and they're not fulfilled.
Well, and when the game you backed is already out to buy.
I'm not necessarily a fan of people.
I'm not liking that right now.
I'm really not a fan of companies that have unfulfilled Kickstarters starting up new Kickstarters. Because at a certain point it's like, okay, well, how much of this money is going to for the new Kickstarter, or is some of this going to fill the gaps in your old Kickstarter and you digging yourself
now
into
the Edge hole? On the Edge, they did say it was like a reprint because it was like their biggest and most successful thing, type of stuff. But still, I'm just like, I'm kind of bitter towards that company on backing anything that they do. Awaken Realms is what I'm talking about.
I mean, the game was good because we played the copy, but it just stinks that so many people a bunch of people got the copy, and there's a bunch of people that don't. Because, like, Matt, you have your copy of Lords of Hellas, right?
Uh-huh.
And Rob's just like...
But you don't have the expansion stuff, do you?
You clicked the wrong button.
The expansion stuff's still in production.
Because you clicked where you wanted to wait.
See, I made the mistake. I made the mistake, and I was like, sure, one shipping, right? Because it was all supposed to ship in March, I think, or be delivered in March of this year. Like, you could do 2-wave shipping. You get your copy in November of last year, and then you get your expansions in March of this year. Mm-hmm. Or you can do the 1-wave shipping where it just comes to you all at once. And I like that big box thing, so I was like, sure, I'll just do 1-wave shipping. And then the delays, and then the delays, and then the delays. And it was supposed to ship a year ago.
And then the delays?
Yeah, like already a year overdue because it was supposed to go out for the first wave shipping people 1 year ago.
Dude, that's rough.
It's just annoying, man. It's just annoying.
What's the due date on your Joan of Arc stuff?
Oh, that got pushed back.
Is that coming before Christmas now or no?
No. That got pushed back.
Dang it.
But I'm actually okay that it got pushed back because here's the thing. They have been keeping up with the communication really well with the whole Joan of Arc stuff. And they sent out the rule books to everybody to like review and to go over in the scenario books. And there were some people that made some like legit claims. And so they're making those changes. And so they were like, this is going to change some stuff up. But we're also letting you guys know that when this happens, it's going to push it back past Chinese New Year, which is going to push it back a whole other month because China shuts down basically for the month of January. And so, it's one of those things where it's so big and so epic. I'm okay because their communication has been great. And plus I have other games that should be coming in. I
have 3 games that are supposed to, four things that are supposed to come in, but none of them are until next year. Do you have a guess of what any of them are?
Board games. I imagine Tiny Epic Max is one.
No. I have that game. Don't I? Have that game.
You gotta remember, Rob, Roy has privilege. He gets all the stuff before we do.
That's right. Gameland loves.
You want to borrow it? You can borrow it. It's over there. I made the video.
Are they board games?
Yeah, they're all board games.
Oh,
you know
Batman.
one of them for sure.
Batman.
Yeah, Batman
is one of them.
There's one from Gameland that I had to back.
Oh, the expansion for Heroes of Land, Air, and Sea.
Yep.
And what are the other 2?
Oh man.
The small card pack for Zaya. It's like some like new ship types and like new events and stuff like that. It's literally just like a small card pack. They're basically using the Kickstarter to make a new thing of the game, but it gives every ship a new power, which is pretty cool. And then
that's cool.
And then the rubber band game.
I've got a couple games. What's that other one?
There's a rubber band game.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Okay, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4.
Not an update for that game.
I saw.
They did like a couple weeks ago.
I was like, "Whoa, they're alive!" That's amazing. All right.
It is amazing.
I still have 15 games to come in. I still have 15 to come in.
Holy smokes! How many are coming in this year?
Well, supposed to come in this year.
Yes. Well, how many are on track to come in this year?
Oh, I don't.
None of them. They're all pushed back to next year.
Actually, I have 14 games. One of those I was supposed to. One of the 15 was a Dice Tower thing that got pushed back. But I have 14 games. I have Time of Legends, Joan of Arc. I have Lords of Hellas. I've got Monster Slaughter, which I'm really excited about. I've got Chronicle X. I've got Countdown Action Edition. I've got the Nemesis board game. I've got the Dinosaur Island Back from Extinction Extreme Liquid Edition. Zombicide Invader. The game. The 5-Minute Dungeon Curses expansion.
Dude,
Heroes of Land, Air, and Sea expansion. Cthulhu Death May Die. Run Fighter Die Reloaded. And then Tiny Epic Max.
Hype. Hey, chat, post how many games you guys are waiting on for Kickstarters. I mean, even if it's 0, let us know. It'd be interesting to see everybody in chat.
I want to back Champion. I want to back the Reavers of Midgard. Are you backing that, Matt?
Yeah.
He sounded so reluctant.
I'm exhausted today. I've been up since like 4.
Dude.
Bro, what have you been doing? Have you been playing that stupid game?
No, I got home at 7 o'clock. And then I get into my house and I'm like, oh my God. And I look at my stove because I still haven't set my clock forward. So I'm just like, I have like 15 minutes to make food. So I do that, rush through it, and then sit down and I'm like, yay, podcast. And then I realized that it's actually just now becoming 8 o'clock. And I'm like, oh no. But yeah.
Well, we love you.
Thanks,
Love
man.
you, Matt.
I want to back Reavers of Midgard, but here's it. Let's be honest, right? One, because Matt is backing it or other people I know are backing it, I know I'll definitely play their copy. And I'll still get a copy of Reavers of Midgard. But their Kickstarter exclusives are Kickstarter exclusives for like a year. Or unless you go to cons, right? And we go to a lot of the cons that they work at. Like, volunteering with that company, with Gray Fox Games, I have gotten so much Kickstarter exclusive stuff that's not even out yet. Like on Champions of Midgard, for example, I got some characters that they're just now releasing that I've had since the summer.
Nice.
So it's just like, why? Like, well, here's the real reason. If my wife sees a charge right now for anything else, knowing the holidays in January's around the corner, I am so dead. So that's the real reason.
I have 17 games coming in.
Oh,
Shut up.
snap.
What are yours?
Oh boy. I still have the rest of Kingdom Death Monster.
That doesn't count because part of that's already come in.
This has become a Kickstarter anonymous session right now.
Are we counting random game related things like the component collector?
Have you still not got your Dogmite stuff?
No, it was
Have you messaged them at all, or they said your stuff's coming? Didn't you say you picked like some sort of crazy rare wood or something?
Yeah, and then it took them a while to get it, so I don't know.
You backed the Kickstarter, and then you've gotten more Dogmite stuff directly from me than you've gotten from them.
Correct. Oh God, hang on. Where are we at? Seventh Continent.
Oh, Seventh Continent hasn't come
That
in yet?
still hasn't come in?
Nope.
I thought it had.
Is it like a reprint edition or something like that?
Yep.
Well, they did the
Okay.
second wave of Kickstarter, but I thought people were getting their second wave in. I think they just see like Trinity on an address, and they're just like, "Nah, we're not shipping there."
I don't even know where that is.
T
All
is
right, so
they do
you
it
have-
alphabetically, and T is pretty late in the alphabet.
Got the shelf thing. It'll probably be here. Hopefully this month.
Yeah, I'm excited to see that when that's. You have
Me
to take a
too,
picture.
man.
You have to take a picture
The
when you
shelf?
get that all set up. I want to see the epic. What is it called? Like the King's Throne or something like that, shelfie?
Oh yeah, box throne. It's just like a big shelf so that I can store my
Box
games
throne.
flat ways.
That's like
that's
literally a shelf made for storing board games.
Let's see. I got Nemesis, Countdown, Tokyo, Jutaku, and Chokyo. Not even gonna try and pronounce that one right now. Oh god, there's so much stuff in this list.
Did you back Fireball Island?
No.
I wanted to, but
I'm really mad. That's one that I'm like kicking myself on. Everybody that's played it has been like, it's so much fun. Even Ashley in chat is talking about how much fun she had, which I don't think she should be allowed to play any games until her husband paints the Gloomhaven minis. I'm not over that yet, but anyway.
I just don't
keep
understand
going.
how she pays for anything to be shipped to Australia, because that is expensive.
Yeah, but she's a baller, bro. She's at work right now
You
and
might as well
listening
be
to
shipping
us.
stuff to the moon.
That's a big deal.
She just actually owns her own boat, so she just sort of sails
Goes over
out.
to China and gets it.
Yeah, it's not even that. She'll just link up with the boat while it's out at sea, and she's just like, "Yo, guys, can you give me the? I just need one copy of
Hey,
this."
Rob, maybe that's where all your other copies are. Ashley hijacked the
Ashley's
boat
house.
on the way. Yeah, she just took everybody's games. She needs more selfies with board games. Come on.
Bro, how weird would that be if like all of our stuff was like at her house or like one of our fans' house? Like they intercepted our stuff and they're like, nope.
It's like a hostage negotiation. Hey, you better come play this game with me or you're not getting your copy.
Speaking of fans, real quick, shout out to Liz. I don't know if you guys are friends with her on social media. And I'm not trying to be like that creepy guy or anything, but she got into a car accident this week and her car was totaled.
That's rough.
And so this is the same Hurricane Liz that sent me my minis for Song of Ice and Fire in the middle of the hurricane last year.
That's crazy.
So, and plus we met her at Dice Tower Con this year. Super cool chick. Liz,
Liz is
I'm
Epic
glad
Gaming
you're
Night
doing
family.
okay. I know that was your baby. I know you love that car, but I'm glad you're doing okay. Just want to let you know we're thinking about you.
Hype. Hope things get better.
Yeah.
Ashley's in chat going selfies. Nice. Cool. Well, hey, I guess we can get into what we've been playing because I played something people probably want to hear about. You want me to start?
Yeah.
I got a chance. I only played solo, but I got a chance to play solo Discovery Lands Unknown. This is the Corey Konieczka unique game that is a survival adventure game is I guess how I would describe it. So it's a pretty interesting game. So basically you're trying to survive the game. It's not a fully cooperative game, but it kind of can be. But it's also not a competitive game. Everybody has an opportunity to win the game. It's just whether you survive or not means you actually win. And you start the game out, you don't necessarily know what the objective to win the game is, but you're just trying to keep track of not dying. I guess there's different ways you can end up getting hurt, whether you're not having water or not having food, or whether you get attacked by creatures out in the wild. But basically you have 3 dials on your thing, and there's different damage you can take. So if you get attacked by a creature and take damage, you'll end up turning your dial to the little skull side. Or if you end up not having enough water, you'll end up turning it over to the empty water cup side. Or if you don't have enough food, you'll do it to one that looks like you're hungry or whatever. And then there's one where you could like get illness as well. And these could trigger, like if you're injured in certain ways, could trigger different events. And also like the end of each round, there's going to be things like, oh, you have to eat. You have to drink water or take damage, or oh, if you have to be to the campfire or draw a threat card or things like that. It's a very interesting game because you're going around trying to find these different locations and reveal them to gather different resources. You have a certain number of action points based off the player count, but at the end of each round, you'll gain a minimum of 6 action points, but then depending on what resources you have, or if you're at the campfire, you'll be able to gain more action points. It's pretty interesting because you're basically like trying to play through the story as you go along. I mean, every box of this game is supposed to be different, but I guess Corey Konieczka said there's 4 different main storylines, but the storylines can still be different. Like, say you have a certain story where you're trying to find like a certain artifact. Maybe that artifact is slightly different in different people's versions of the game. Maybe the creatures you run into are definitely different. The items you can craft because you're trying to get different resources. Like I had to get like 2 stone to be able to craft or 1 stone. I got 1 stone and I could craft like a stone dagger, and that ended up letting me have better attack. And then there's like I could get make a stone pot, or I could make a pickaxe, which I'm assuming I never actually made it, but I'm assuming that it would allow me to like get stone faster and stuff like that. You're trying to get different resources to be able to craft different items to make your character better, but then also be able to fulfill whatever the current objective is. So you're going to have different scenario cards. I had 3 different scenario cards in the first scenario. The first one was like, hey, find a exploration location. And once you've explored one of those, then you're able to go to the next event card or the next scenario card. And it's kind of interesting because different people's versions of the game can have completely different locations, can have completely different cards, can have completely different terrains. I unboxed mine live, and when I was unboxing it, I was like, guys, what terrain do you think I'm going to get? Everybody vote on what terrain you think I'm going to get. I really hope I don't get ice, and I hope I don't get the tundra or the snowy mountains and the desert, because honestly, that just seems like the hardest to survive. I opened up the box, and immediately it was desert and snowy mountains, and I was just like, well, the universe heard my cries of despair.
It's because you asked for it not to happen. That's why it happened.
I was like, this is kind of, it was kind of immediate, okay, that's interesting. But I played it, and it was still really cool because, I mean, based off the territory type you get, you'll probably get creatures that you would find in that terrain, you know. I'm guessing, I mean, I have no clue, but maybe if you had the snowy tundra, you'll find like Yetis and stuff like that, or something crazy in the snow, or abominable snowmen or something crazy. Because there is a little bit of it's not straight hard realistic. It's lots of mystical stuff going on in the game as well, which is pretty cool. which is what I was excited about because I was like, man, if it's just straight survival, I'm going to be kind of sad. But it wasn't. It immediately made me be like, the first monster I ran into, I was like, And it might not ever be in anybody else's game, but the first thing I ran into, it probably doesn't matter because everybody else's game. I'm wondering if I should be worried about spoilers, but my copy of the game is probably, it's supposed to be different than everybody else's. So like very few people could even have the same monster in their game.
Yeah.
The different tokens are numbered. So they could have the token with the same number, but their number that the card that they pull out of the deck would be completely different because they got a randomly different monster. But one of the very first monster I pulled was like an evil scientist. And I'm like, what? Evil scientist? That's crazy. And he was like a guy that like if he retreats, he could run around and spawn more monsters. And I was like, that's not good. But I was just immediately happy because I'm like, I'm running around the desert and I'm worried like, oh man, what am I going to find in the desert? Like scorpions and snakes and stuff like that. And the first thing I find is an evil scientist. And I'm like, yes, I don't know. It just made me happy. So, but it was cool. It was definitely really cool. I'm interested in like the replayability of the game after I play the 4 scenarios. Is it just going to, I don't think that the scenarios are going to be, I mean, there'll definitely be different events and different things you run into, but I feel like the scenarios will feel the same as you play them again. So I'm kind of interested in to see, and I'm interested to see how it plays with more players. But I played through it solo and definitely really enjoyed playing it. But there's been a lot of mixed opinions on this game. So it'll be interesting to see how it stands the test of time. But the whole concept is definitely super interesting. I mean, if I play through the whole thing and really enjoy it, I might try to see if I can find someone who has a copy with different terrain and different scenario and see if they want to either sell it to me or trade it for mine or something like that and play through it again.
Hey, man, you don't even have to do that because I have a copy of it behind me.
Hey, which terrain did you get?
I know one of them was Island. I didn't check.
Yes! I really wanted Islands.
Was it Island and Bayou terrain?
Or Island and Swampland. There's Badlands, too. I was excited about Badlands because Badlands isn't even showed on the box.
Oh, no. What did I do with it?
I wonder if you got the same scenario path as I did or if it's different because apparently there's 4 different storylines. I think one's like a Survivor type storyline where you're actually like part of a game show. Mine seems very like mystical.
I got a question for you, Roy. I got a question for you.
Yes.
On a scale of 1 to 10, what would you rate the game?
Right now.
Honestly.
It's so hard to know without playing
Say
through
goodbye.
the entire thing.
I have Island and Bayou.
Brett
And I've
got,
only played it solo.
Island, Bayou terrain.
I'll say with my solo playthrough, what I've played so far,
Enchiladas. Or,
with what
What
I've
is
played
it?
so
I
far,
said enchiladas. What?
I would
What's
rate
it?
it. I would rate it a 7, and I could see that
That good?
going. Say what?
Is that good?
I could see it going up or down based on how it plays through with multiple people because I want to see how bad the downtime is because you'll have less actions with more people, but it might add a whole different dynamic of multiple people trying to survive through the game because I could do a lot on my turn playing it solo because I just got a ton more actions playing solo. So it's like, oh man, I start with a ton of actions. I can just do all sorts of stuff. But with less people, you're going to have less actions and there'll be more cards that come up that try to make you like not have enough water in the middle of the desert. And I really want to see how the storyline plays out. So I could see it going up or down. I'm definitely not final on that 7, but honestly, a lot of
it's a
people
soft
are
7 right
comparing
now.
the theme to Seventh Continent, and
Sounds like it.
yeah, because there's a lot of similarities, even like pulling different cards out of the deck and things making you go grab certain number of cards feels pretty similar. I feel like Seventh Continent is definitely a way bigger game with a lot more stuff going on, and it's probably a lot more fiddly. But it's also what's the price of Seventh Continent? What's the MSRP?
I don't know. I backed the Kickstarter for like 120.
Dag.
That was like the base game, and I think the new expansion, and maybe a couple of other small little things. But I didn't go like really hard on it.
Well, I got this for 45. Seventh Continent, like, it's interesting because you're exploring stuff, but you literally, like, it's so hard to get through a story or a scenario. So you go, like, a few steps and then you die, or you just run out of food and you have to start over. And it's just, like, so many hours of gameplay because you can never get anything finished. This is, like, a super light version of Seventh Continent where you can actually finish the game in, like, an hour or, like, an hour and a half or less, depending on how fast your players play. Which is good, because Seventh Continent, me and Trevor played like 3 or 4 4-hour sessions, and we beat the scenario, but that's because me and Trevor didn't, like, we're like, oh yeah, we die, but, I mean, do we really die? I mean, let's just keep going. I mean, because literally we were like, we're not starting over. I mean, why would we do that? Because it's like we spent 12 hours playing. We're not starting over. Let's just keep going. Who cares? We died. Okay. But yeah, there's so much content in Seventh Continent, and I feel like there's a lot more game there and a lot of interesting exploration. But I'm really excited to see where this game leads. But I would rank Seventh Continent higher than Discovery. But at least this game actually feels like it can be played multiplayer. Seventh Continent, basically, you should probably only play it solo. I mean, even when you play it 2 players, like when me and you played, Rob, it's just like we're just always going to the same location and kind of doing the same thing, There's like no real reason to split up. So this, you might actually be able to play multiple players and all be trying to survive, which would actually be good, But I also haven't played it that way, so I don't know. Yeah. And Moe's Homewrecker Burrito is so good.
Bro, it is, man.
Welcome to Moe's.
Welcome to Moe's.
I used to have one of my best friends used to work at Moe's, and he just always give me free food every time I went in there.
Bro, he would become my best friend right now.
Dude.
I want like a good food place. Not that it's like the best food, but Moe's, they've got it's pretty good food.
Oh,
I
yeah.
want a good food friend.
Yeah, Seventh Continent.
Seventh Continent.
If you're playing Seventh Continent 4 players, you should not do it. Like literally, Seventh Continent is basically a solo game, which is not really the way I want to enjoy that game anyway.
I thought it was good with just me and you. I don't know if I'd want to go more than just 2 people on Seventh Continent.
2 people is okay, but still, when you're doing 2 people, like when me and Trevor and when me and you were playing, we're still mostly going to the same location and trying to work together to do the same stuff. But at least we could talk out what we wanted to do.
Yeah, but you and I don't have AP, and you and I were going quickly. And that's one thing I do like about the game. It's like it allows you to go quickly if you want to.
I feel like me and you, Rob, can agree on what to do in games a lot better than me and Trevor can. Me and Trevor just argue like, no, man, let's not do that. Let's go this way. No, let's go this way. Like me and you are more like on point. Like we'll be like, okay, let's do that.
16 hours? Oh my gosh, Crystal.
Dude, no, it is literally that hard. And if you die, you go back to the beginning. Like literally the first scenario people say takes them like 40 hours to complete if they're playing the way the rules say. And repeating the same stuff over is not super great. The good thing about Discoveries is you will finish a game. And it was actually I had fun playing Discovery, so I'm excited to play it more. So we'll see. I feel like if you own Seventh Continent and you go into Discovery and you're like expecting it to be better than more like richer than Seventh Continent, it's not there. Like it's not going to be richer than Seventh Continent, but you can actually finish a game and actually be able to play it with more than just one person.
Yeah.
So, look at Mark Hale name dropping a little bit. He's so cute.
Who? I don't know who those people are. Sound like old people to me. Actually, Nate's not that old, but
yeah, I'll name drop. I played D&D with Crystal Pisano. Boom. She's bigger than all those people. She's
got a crush on a vampire. She's turned to the other side.
She does have a crush on a vampire. We could talk about that another time, but she is like. If you haven't heard that show yet, you need to go back and listen to the part where she was alone in his cabin.
Oh no, I'm afraid of the recap.
Did you play anything, Matt?
Nope.
Hey, you unboxed
Yeah, Discovery.
Discovery.
I got
Where did you get it? Offline?
Yeah, I bought it on Cool Stuff.
Sweet.
They had this really cool D&D book set with like alt art, and I was like, oh, this thing looks legit. And I was just like, I want this. And then I was like, so I kept like just fiddling around with it for a while, and then ended up just buying some other stuff while I was just looking at it, and I'm just like, why am I doing this? I still don't know the answer.
I really want some more of the D&D books because I keep
You know why you're doing it?
being like, man, I want these books.
I can tell you why you're doing it. You were bored.
Poor self-control. Yeah.
You were bored, and it was in front of you, and you're like, hey, this could be interesting. But then when you get busy again, you'll be like, why was I looking at that for? And then you'll find out, why did I buy that? Oh, that's right, because I was bored. Oh, crap, this just broke. I wish I did not buy this stupid game so I could fix it.
Isn't it so incredibly unfortunate that the small rush of adrenaline you get from clicking the purchase now button,
Bro, it's a drug,
can take over just so many aspects of your life.
There are so many times I get super excited about buying a game, and I'm like, man, we're gonna play the mess out of this game. This game looks awesome. It looks gorgeous. Boom, and it just sits on my shelf.
Yep.
Because I'm excited. You know, especially with Kickstarter, because then it's like Christmas, like a year plus later. Because I'm like, great, this game is coming. It's gonna be so amazing.
And then you finally get it, and you're just like, when am I gonna get to play it?
Man, I'll do you one better. I'll buy art books that I think look really cool, and I'll look through the art ahead of time, and then it'll get here, and it'll just sit on my bookshelf.
You want to look at the art after you get it?
Not really. I know one day I'll be like, you know what I want to do? I want to look at some pictures, and I'll go through and I'll look at some pictures. But until
you know when that'll happen? You know when that'll happen? That'll happen if you ever decide to move and sell and move your home. When you're trying to pack up, you'll then go through every book saying, oh, I forgot I had this. And then that one day when you invited us all over to come help, we'll end up packing up everything while you're just looking at art books all day. And we're like, screw you, Matt. You're supposed to help. And you were just going down memory lane of this beautiful artwork that's been sitting on your shelf this whole time. I'm not saying that's happened to me in the past with other people, but I'm just saying that could happen to you. That's when it could happen.
Dude, man, I wish I could play D&D more.
I like our campaign. Hey, I played a game before we get into our stuff.
Hype.
Bro, this was a cool little game. It was called Wahoo or Weeha or something like that.
Oh, I saw the pictures of that. I was like, I don't even know what's going on there. I'm like, do you flick the marbles? Do you move the marbles? What's going on?
So it is a 4-player game where everybody gets their own D6 or 6-sided die, and everybody gets 3 colored marbles, whatever colors you want, but they all have to be the matching marbles. And you have this beautiful board, and it's like
it almost looks like a Lazy Susan.
It does look like a lazy. It's big like a Lazy Susan, but on the exterior of the board, like there's these little thin grooves of the board, and you're trying to move your marbles all the way around the board. And your 3 marbles start in your base, and you can't move a marble out unless you roll a 1 or a 6. And then once you roll a 1 or a 6, you're moving your marbles clockwise, and you're trying to get them around the board to back into your base.
Sounds like Parcheesi.
It sounds like trouble.
Both, yes.
It was a blast. We played. We went to go visit some friends that we hadn't seen in a while, and he had this game, and it was me and his wife versus my wife and him. And what happens is you roll the die, and if you roll a 1 or 6, your piece gets to move 1 out, right? But then every time you roll a 1 or you roll a 6, you get to keep going. However, if you roll 3 1s in a row or 3 6s in a row, that piece that you're rolling for automatically gets sent back home.
Oh.
And then if you land on somebody else's marble as you're going around, you can overlap them, but if you land on their marble automatically goes all the way back home. Also, if you ever roll a 4, you can switch your marble with somebody else's marble, but it has to be your marble. You can't just switch 2 marbles. And so once you make all of your marbles back to your base, if your teammate has not made their marbles back to their base yet, then when it comes to your turn, you actually get to roll for your teammate. So that way you're now like doing double time to help your teammate roll around and stuff like that. It's a very, very, very old game. It's probably pre-Trouble and Sorry and all that other kind of stuff. But it was a lot of fun. Myself and our friend, my friend's wife, we won overall. We played 3 games. We won the first game. My wife won the second game, and then we came back and we won the third game. It's one of those games where like you pick up really quick. You know, the rules aren't very hard. But it was just like one of those cutthroat things, man, where it's like, hold on, which marble am I going to move? If I do this and I jump in front of them, now they have a chance to roll a die and then knock my marble all the way back home. Because there was one game where like over half the game I was in home. I could not roll a 1 or a 6 to get my marbles out to save my life. And it was so frustrating because I'm like, crap, where's this 1 or 6? Where's this 1 or 6? But it was a lot of fun. It takes 4 players to play. I just have the one picture on Instagram. I was having so much fun that I didn't take more pictures. Like we were having fun. My wife really enjoyed it. The other couple, they really enjoyed it. And so if I saw it like at an old thrift store or something, I'd definitely pick it up. But I think it's called Wahoo or something. But fun, cute little fast dice chucking, marble moving game.
Yeah.
Robert Roll and Move Newman.
Roll and move Newman. I like that. Anyways, it was a lot of fun. And we were smack talking to each other. And like, if they would make a mistake, we'd be like, oh man, you guys are so dumb. I can't believe you did that. And then if we would, like, there were a couple times I rolled a 4 and I forgot to like switch the ability. And they're like, man, you're an idiot. You could have moved that die right there and moved this right here. And I'm like, I mean, it's fun. It's especially fun like when your spouse or significant other starts smack talking at you and stuff like that, but it's all in like, you know, in like good spirits of the game and stuff like that. And so good times. And plus I wanted to play it because I had never heard of this game before, never seen this game before. It reminded me, and it's nothing like the game, but you know the game where you have like those washer things and you're trying to knock them in the hole in the middle of the board. It has that beautiful wood board that you play on, and you have the crokinole or something like that.
Yeah.
I saw it and I was like, wow, okay, it's not like that, but it looks old like that. It looks like something like, okay, like this is like, bro, did George Washington play this game? Did George Washington play this marble dice?
Reminded me of like Chinese checkers, because Chinese checkers has those like those little holes in like a wooden board.
A little bit. Yeah. But anyway, I was just thinking like, man, our forefathers, Thomas Jefferson must have killed it this
Would
game.
it have been improved with a Pop-O-Matic?
I don't think so.
You like to tell?
No, and
Matt's like, false. Everything's improved with a Pop-O-Matic.
But anyway, it was a lot of fun.
Nice.
Boom.
We also got to play games that I played multiple times before. I played Gizmos, which is always awesome, just like an hour ago, and Downforce, which is
Who'd you
awesome.
play Gizmos with?
There's a local thing at a ice cream shop. called Ritz.
You were playing testing your thing?
Yeah. If you're ever in the Kernersville area in North Carolina, we have every other Tuesday, there's an ice cream shop in Kernersville that they have a game night for a couple hours every other Tuesday. So it's pretty cool. So I went down there because normally I work nights, but I don't work nights on Tuesday because I have the podcast. Well, I do work nights on Tuesday. I just go to work after the podcast. But yeah, so I got to play a couple games with them, and I was going to play test my game. I got everything all ready for it, but one of the guys that wanted to play a whole lot ended up not being able to be there, so we're going to set a future date for that. So I ended up playing Gizmos, which I love. I still love Gizmos. Like, every time I play it, I still think it's awesome. And then played Downforce as well, which is cool. I got to be, like, the very last bid in Downforce, and I got a car randomly with the special ability where when you only move on the rectangle spaces, you get to move 2 extra. And I only bid 1 million for my car, and I ended up winning.
Yeah.
So, and I just bet on myself the whole time. So, made it pretty far ahead in the points. So I was pretty ecstatic about that.
Man.
There was a guy, Luke, also got a whole bunch of cars. So we kind of sandbagged him because we're like, if multiple of his cars get ahead of us and win, he's going to win the game. Even though he bid a ton of money for all of them, we can't let him win with all those cars. So we basically made it so he lost. But it was fun.
That's the spirit.
That's what. Hey man, he was acting like he was Mr. Moneybags, but he had like, we each had one car. He had 4 cars. So what
How
we
did he
did,
get 4 cars?
because when you play, we were playing 3 players, so you're allowed to have multiple cars. You're allowed to win multiple cars, but you got to pay for the bid for them. So he had paid out like, how much he paid out? He had paid 13. No, he had paid $14 million before he was $14 million in debt before the game started. But if he had won with a couple of those cars, if he got like first and second, he would have been way ahead. So we're like, we can't let any of them win. So that's what we did. We worked together, and I ended up getting first, and he ended up bidding on my guy the entire time. So he let me
We're
first.
gonna have to play Downforce at the cabin, man. That's just.
I want to try the
game.
new tracks. Have you tried the new tracks?
Yeah.
No. Do you have them?
Yeah.
Yo, you have to bring.
Hey,
that.
you should bring them when you come, Matt.
Yeah, it's definitely a quick, like, fast
Have you heard
little
anything
game.
from Hector and them? Are they coming? You
Uh,
don't know yet.
nothing definitive, no.
But you're coming though. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
That's what she said.
Hype.
Hype, hype.
Cool.
Sweet. So, do we have a topic tonight, or is that a show?
We have a topic. You were looking up stuff for it. We do have a topic. Our topic is about events and encounters in games. So my first thing is, what are events and encounters in games? So when we're talking about this, we're basically talking about, like, you can have random events in games or different things that add extra, like, story elements to the game or different encounters that you'll happen. Like, the main thought about this was, like, when you're playing, like, Arkham Horror or Eldritch Horror and you're going to different locations and revealing event cards and you have, like, a little story you read and then you have, like, maybe some sort of check you have to do. Or different things like in Near and Far when you're going to all these different story locations.
Bro, quit taking all my stuff.
Shh. Well, there's tons and tons of awesome games that use these sort of mechanics. I just want to talk a little bit about, like, events and encounters and how they affect games. So what are some games that use events and encounters in them?
Near and Far. No, there's a bunch. There's a bunch. I think one of our favorites is definitely Tales of Arabian Nights.
Yeah.
Man, that's a game we should probably play at the cabin.
Yeah.
But that's a game if we play in the cabin, that needs to be like Friday night, late at night, where we're just like silly.
You gonna wait for me to get there to play that one?
Bro, I'm gonna
Like, I'm
sleep,
not
but
waiting
I
for
don't
you.
plan on sleeping a lot because it's like, I mean, yeah, we'll have to see. We'll just have to see, sir.
I normally get off at like, I'll probably get off at like 10 and then get there by like 11. That's pretty late, right?
Oh, we'll definitely be awake. Yeah,
But I normally stay up till like 4, which is not how late you guys stay up.
well, I'll probably stay up late.
Playing games, and I'm gonna be like, all right, guys, it's 8:30. I'm turning in.
And then Matt will be up at like 6 a.m. and we'll be like, Matt, go back to bed. It's not
Just
working.
make the bacon.
You don't understand. You'll be like, oh, Matt should be up at 7. Matt's gonna get up at about noon.
You're one of those like you can sleep 12 hours.
Oh,
If
dude,
I don't have anywhere to be or anything to do, oh yeah.
I sent Matt some card sleeves that he needs today.
Oh yeah.
Or not today, but the other day. Atomic Empire had these card sleeves that just had a sloth on it, and it said, "Hey, girl."
Pretty
Like, this is Matt.
pretty.
Hogwarts Battle also has events and encounters in it.
Oh, nice. How do they work in Hogwarts Battle? Like, they just come out of the deck and do things?
Yes, they'll just come out of the deck, or sometimes there'll be encounters if you fight a certain boss, or if a certain card is played, then X thing happens. Or if you rescue X, then a certain issue will happen. So there's that. I've got several games. Do we want to keep going?
Yes.
Yes.
Pioneer Days. Did you play
Oh.
Pioneer Days with us, Matt? Bro,
No.
yeah, you did.
Matt did,
Wait,
but I didn't.
yeah.
So I don't know how the events work.
Those
on this
freaking
game.
storms and stuff like that. I would say those are more encounters than they are events because they just like happen depending on the dice and stuff.
Mhm.
But those were brutal.
Yeah.
Lost all my stuff. That was a fun game.
I know which game has you guys' favorite encounters and events in it.
Which one?
Dead of Winter Crossroad cards.
Yay.
It is a good one. I do have it on my list.
Yeah. There's so many good ones. Like, but yeah, I love
Here's a
like the
link, guarantee.
classic like Arkham Horror where you're going to these different locations and you're drawing out these random events and trying to make the best of it. Because normally, majority of the time, they're like some negative type things, or if you're in Eldritch Horror and you're trying to like find the different clues, there are different clues based off of the Great Old One, and they're very thematic to that, and you're trying to like make sure you have the proper stuff to get you some re-rolls or be able to like defeat people in attacks if monsters pop up. And it's always interesting to like see the flavor of like, oh, you went into this other
I've got
world
one better.
and there's weird stuff going on, you know.
Got one better.
Okay, throw it out there.
Battlestar Galactica.
Oh yeah, literally the crisis cards, or
Yeah.
Bro, when those cards flip and you don't know what's going to happen, or not even just those cards, but when you're having to like vote on stuff and you don't know if somebody's a Cylon yet,
and
'cause
majority of
maybe
that
they're
stuff
like
is
endgame.
directly
revealed
from
themselves.
episodes of the show. You know, it's like, oh, there's a water
Yes.
surge, or oh, there's this thing, or oh, there's that thing. It's lots of things that happened in the show.
Every time I've played that game, except for maybe once, it's been very tense and close, where it's like, crap, something's going to happen. You know, like, you know, it's never just been completely one-sided. Only one time was it completely one-sided, but that's a great event or an encounter game.
Yeah, for sure.
Boom.
Champions of Midgard has like those cards that flip when you're traveling the seas and maybe something terrible could
I
happen
have that
to
on
you.
my list. Yes.
There's so many games that I feel. I mean, I guess we can talk about more stuff. Hey, Matt, do you have a couple that you think we haven't mentioned or you think would be good to mention?
Nope. I was gonna mention all the obvious ones that you guys already mentioned.
I know you guys haven't played it yet, but the whole event system in Fallout is super unique. I think it's probably like the best part of the game, because the deck is like set up for the story, and like there's like branching paths that go on as you go along, but then there'll be specific event cards that, because of the story, will be shuffled into specific decks. So it's like, okay, so you're looking for this girl and maybe she's at one of these cities around here. You have to go look for her, and it'll take a card that will represent like the next step of that and shuffle it into the top 3 cards of the city deck. So hey, you have to go explore at a city 1 to 3 times to be able to find her and encounter her as you're looking for her.
That's cool.
So it makes it feel like really thematic with these events that you're flipping up. But other times you'll just flip it up and be like, oh, you find the shady guy in an alley. Do you follow him down the alley or not? That's kind of
Could this be? I think this is a stretch, but would you say Cash and Guns is a good encounter game? 1, I don't know who I'm going to point at, and then 2, if I'm pointing at them, I don't know what their card is going to say. If it's going to say blank or pow.
I don't think that necessarily.
Like, it's not so much an event.
fits.
It's not an event game like events, but like I just like the encounter stuff. Like, you never know, and I'm specifically thinking like playing with AJ. He will pick one person,
think that
and he will point at
necessarily
that person the whole night.
qualifies.
And well, to me, it was just it was a fun experience. But anyway, we can go on.
Okay. What was the next thing I got on here? Oh, how can different events and encounters add to the story of a game?
When you have to make love to a mudslide, when you have to woo over a mudslide,
Drinking the rocks, baby.
bro, if that doesn't make the game better, I don't know what could make the game better. I like it when it's not just fun, but so outrageous. Like, that's one of the things I love about Tales of the Arabian Nights is they are the cheesiest, worst ever written stories that are so hilariously awful that they're fun.
Mm-hmm.
Like, again, making love to a mudslide, you would never ever think that. But when you play that game, you will get an option to do stupid, silly stuff like that. And I think that's what makes stuff like that just so much fun. And I think it adds to the story. You know, like last 2 times I played Tales of the Arabian Nights, we got mad when somebody won because we were like, bro, like, we're having like a good time trying to explore our characters and who's in prison and trying to do this and who's trying to do that. Like to me, when it adds that extra oomph of you forget about the game and you're all about the story because of the events that unfold.
I'm about to say, I feel like Tales of the Arabian Nights, like the entire game is just encounters, you know? I mean, there's a little bit of moving around the board, a little bit of collecting some treasures, a little bit of trying to complete these quests, but mostly it's just like random encounter, random encounter, random encounter. What are you going to do here? What are you going to do there? What are you going to do there? And just seeing what unfolds just makes you feel like you're in that crazy, zany, like Tales of the Arabian Nights world where you're traveling through the Middle East, like trying to talk to Jinn and keep them from capturing you, you know?
Or like the first time you play Dead of Winter and you're given that crossroad cards, do you let the little kids starve and you take all the supplies out of the school cafeteria, or do you bring the kids back with you? And now you add so many, you know, like heads to your base.
And the coolest thing about the crossroad cards is they trigger off of things you do, so it makes it feel more thematic, you know? If it's like, maybe you go to the schoolyard and the thing specifically says, oh, did you go to, if they went to the schoolyard, so it'll trigger when you go there. And so like it makes it feel real because, oh, I didn't know something was going to happen when I go there, but it's specifically trigger because of that. And then the text on the card is reading out in that area like, oh, there's all these people in there. What are you going to do? Are you going to rescue them? Are you going to like blockade them off so they get eaten by zombies and save yourself? Are you going to try to bring some people with you, but then you're not going to be able to feed all the mouths or whatever? So it makes it super thematic and like feel with the story of the game, you know?
Yeah.
What about you, Matt? What do you think about how events can add to the story of a game?
I mean, usually, most of the events are already sort of pre-generated story bits anyway that are designed to randomly interact with the game you're playing, which is cool.
Right, yeah.
And it's like, I definitely feel like that's what it's there for, but it does a good job in doing that, if that makes sense. I don't.
No, it does. I mean, because it does have to be somewhat automated for the mechanics and stuff to work. But, I mean, if you're a first-time player, it still brings that surprise.
Yeah. And it's encounters are a little different because it's more of one of those things it's only worth as much as what you make of it, in the sense.
Mm-hmm.
That it's like, I'm pretty sure we could have stories about games that are like our stories about Rex.
Yeah.
It was a pretty... I mean, I'd play it again.
Yeah.
It wasn't like the
it's
best
only
game.
Taken like 5 years.
It wasn't the best game I've ever played, but you know, I would do it again. And it's just like, yeah, this is great.
It's taken this amount of time. It's time to bring it back.
But it's like that game was so memorable for me because of all the stuff that happened and the stuff that we did that made the game.
The bombardment ship is ready.
Yeah.
It was epic because of AJ alone. I mean, the game was fun, don't get me wrong, but AJ's face was absolutely priceless.
He's like,
I don't know if I could ever top.
Wah, wah.
Yeah.
Good times. What was I gonna say? I feel like it can add to like that whole creepy ambiance in certain games, like with Betrayal at House on the Hill, where it's like, oh, you flip over an event card and oh, you found this burning man or whatever, this crazy creepy thing, and you have to roll a die to see what happens if you get scared and lose sanity or not. It's just interesting little story moments that interject as you're exploring the haunted house before the haunt happens and stuff like that. So it makes these games kind of interesting, and it gives a lot of moments for them to interject that story in there, you know?
Yeah.
So what are some mechanics that can be used in game encounters that you've seen? Like
hidden movement. I think is a big deal, or maybe not even just not hidden movement, but when something is hidden, you know, like when you walk into a spider web type of a thing, just surprise. Surprise for me is a big deal.
Like in old school Mansions of Madness, when you'd walk into a room and you'd have all these event cards you had to flip over and see what happens.
Yes.
Nice.
Yep.
Yeah, for me,
that's what made that so much fun. Or legacy games, but I don't want to talk about legacy games too much because I could spoil it. But like, you know, doing certain things and causing other things to happen.
Big events.
Yes.
That's crazy. Yeah. I mean, a lot of these games just use like, oh, okay, you have stats and you get to roll dice to try to like resolve whatever's happening, you know. I really like the ones that you just get to have choices where it's like, okay, this event happens and you're not the person reading the card, like it's a crossroad card or something like that, or it's Tales of the Arabian Nights where you have these multiple choices. What are you going to do? And then you have to make that choice and then see what happens with the choice you made, especially when it's not 100% sure what the best one is, you know? But then you also have ones where it's like both of those, where like above and below or near and far are like you have these choices. Do you do the thing that is probably a little bit more difficult, or do you think that's a little bit more easy? And then you roll the dice and like add your stats based on the choice you make. So it's kind of like a mixture of both of those, which is pretty cool. But yeah, I'm trying to think of other resolutions to these different events that can happen. I mean, a lot of times things just happen. Like you flip over the event card and that thing happens, you know?
Yeah.
So, are there any interesting mechanics or aspects to events you can think of, Matt? Trying to get you in there, just making sure.
Hey man, I appreciate it. I'm just a bit out of it currently.
You're a bit tired. No, I get
You're like,
it.
hey, is napping an event? Can we take the snooze? Can we take the rest? We need a long rest, right? Adam, we need a long rest. Adam,
Yeah, we do.
we need a long rest.
I would appreciate sleep.
In game and out of game.
At the podcast, he was like, "Y'all have slept." I'm like, "I don't think
It
we
may
have."
have been a month, but we still
still
haven't
fucking-
slept.
I mean, we
I
slept
just like though,
way
like,
too late.
in the,
Oh man.
Do
Yep.
you normally like games that have events and encounters in story moments in them?
yes.
Yes.
Well, it's because it adds that extra oomph. It's something that's unique, where you don't know what's going to happen because X event hasn't triggered yet, where it's not just like a basic mechanic of build this, make that. It's like, nope, something specific needs to happen. And so I like it because it keeps the game interesting. It keeps players honest type of a thing, because to me, it almost feel like it's the game trying to even itself out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah, I just love the chances it has to interject more narrative into the game, you know.
yeah.
Help the game fit the theme even more. So I guess this is very similar to that. How can events and encounters add to the theme of a game? I see why you're confused about this, Rob, because none of these sentences make sense.
You do get it?
Yep.
Okay.
So how do you think events and encounters can add to theme?
I think everything that we just already said.
Yeah.
I mean, for an example, like if we had like Mansions of Madness, if there was some other theme outside of a Cthulhu-based theme, it wouldn't work. So I think the events and stuff, they have to be measured based off of the game that you're playing, or it won't work properly. And so I don't know. To me, that's almost kind of like a given, because like if you played Mansions of Madness and all of a sudden like something, I don't know, not Cthulhu related happened, that would just I don't know if I'd like that. Does that make sense? Like, I don't know if
I feel like without that sort of stuff, it just becomes more just mechanical. Like, it's like, okay,
yeah.
we're just moving around the board and we're doing the thing.
Which we buy those games because we want that theme. Like, we're wanting that specific thing to happen. So it's just, it's part of the game. If you don't follow it, we won't play it.
I feel like sometimes they can add a sense of like excitement or danger into a game too, when sometimes there's this random thing that could happen, like when you're playing Champions of Midgard, and it's like, okay, well, there's an event I could go over here and look and see what the seas look like, or I could just sail across them and hope for the best. And sometimes, hey, it's just, hey, they're all clear. Odin's blessing or whatever it's called. It's all good. But then sometimes like, oh, there's a storm and now I lose half my food or something crazy like that. And just that sense of, okay, well, I need to be extra prepared, or I need to watch out, and then you're never quite sure. Or maybe you're fighting the mountain, isn't the mountain giants or whatever, you have to go through events too to get to them or something like that, or you have to pay gold to be able to get to the end of your journey or whatever. It just makes it kind of interesting where you
sea monsters are more food and the mountain giants are more money.
You can't necessarily 100% prepare for what exactly is around that corner. Or when you're like in Eldritch Horror, it's like, okay, well, I'm doing an otherworld encounter, and there's going to be some crazy thing on the other side of this. I have decent stats. I really hope that's not lore. I'm really good at like observation and fighting. But if they're trying to make me like learn some ancient tome, I'm in trouble. Like, hopefully I'll get lucky. Hopefully this will be good. And just that sense of the unknown, what's going to be on the other side of that card as one of the other players reads it to you out loud and like just gets you into that theme, I think is pretty crazy. Yeah. When do you think events and encounters can be bad in a game?
When it's when it's too much.
Got the perfect.
Too random. Too swingy.
When it's like, when it's over the top, too much type of a thing. That's when you're just trying to be annoying. And you're not trying to necessarily make a good game. You're just trying to come up with really good cards. And then you're like, well, the game happened the way that... No, you need to make sure that everything flows well and stuff like that. But, No, I think Mansion's Madness does a good job with that, again. Because the way that they make the game, the events happen, but it's not ridiculous. Sometimes it can feel overwhelming, but that's just because the game that you're playing. But it's not like it.
And the events that happen in the app, like each Mythos phase, events are going to happen, but it specifically goes to like different investigators. Like it won't hit the same investigator over and over and over and over again. It'll go to this investigator, then that investigator, then that investigator, then that investigator, and it'll specifically hit different investigators when these events trigger, which is kind of interesting. And they'll have to make checks and stuff and try to save against it, but they'll get a chance to do it. Yeah, I think if things are unbalanced or things just give, especially if you're playing a game that's like about like scoring and about like specific things, if something just gives someone too much of an advantage or just handicaps some or like hits somebody too hard and takes them out of a game, just like with a card flip, it can feel real bad. It's like, well, I was doing great in the game and then we flipped that one card and it just wrecked me hard. Like a Mansion's Madness and stuff like that, it's just pecking you a little bit, like a couple damage here or there. But if someone's like, oh, we'll roll a die, and if you get a 1, your character dies. You're just like, what? And then it happens to you, and you're like, man, well, that was rough. Okay. Or if it's like, oh, you just lose all of your resources. You got the go directly to jail card. You go to jail, go sit in jail. You better have a get out of jail free card. Anyway.
Yeah.
Sometimes. Or any events that ever make you lose turns, ever, in any game. Losing turns in games is not fun for anybody. I mean, it might be fun for the people that don't lose a turn, but I just think it's a terrible mechanic to not allow people to play the game.
That is definitely not fun.
On the other side of that spectrum, Seafall, just the whole thing.
If you're going to have events in your game, have them actually be meaningful or at least flavorful.
It's like, I mean, the writing wasn't terrible, but it was just like, hey man, you encounter this island, you do this, there's crazy stuff going on here, and you're like, oh, okay, cool, yeah. And then it's just like, and if you would like,
we're burn the place down.
And they give you 2 options, and then it's like, cool, this either now produces spice or it produces wood, and you're like, great. I see my lasting impact. Ta-da.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Nice.
I'm trying to think of things that like where they do it too much, but I'm like struggling.
I try to get rid of those games. For the most
right?
part.
Yeah, like I try not to try not to play those games a lot or anything like that.
Yeah. I mean, I've definitely had a lot of games in the past that have been like, okay, well, that was not the greatest. Bye. But yeah, definitely don't add people losing their turns into games.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Sweet.
All right, next question.
Next question. What is your favorite game with events or encounters in them, and how do those mechanics play out?
I'll
That you just
mention
feel
the
like
madness.
the events and encounters are good.
It's for me. It's Mansions Madness Second Edition, and it's because they play out based off of the options that you take in the game.
Mm-hmm.
For example, there's certain encounters in the game where you may meet an NPC that does certain things based off of the way that you answer certain questions, and certain events happen.
All of your search actions are technically encounters too, right?
I mean, yeah. I mean, you could view it that way, but that's just one of those games where like. If you like that theme, I feel like it does events and encounters perfectly for that game. Now, not everybody's going to want to play that game because they don't like that theme. But yeah, I just think that's like the perfect mix of how to do that stuff properly.
I mean, it's so cool to me. The fact that like you're getting encounters at the end of each round during the Mythos phase. It's going to like affect different people, or different story events are going to happen. And then B, you're also going around the board, like the main thing is you're searching the board to try to figure out what's going on with all these different search locations. And sometimes you do the search location and, hey, cool, you find a cool item. Or sometimes you do a search location and there's some sort of crazy check you got to do. Or sometimes you search and you got to, like, solve this puzzle. I know Rob's not as big about the puzzle part, but I love when it's like, oh, my goodness, now you got to solve this crazy puzzle, this mastermind puzzle, or
I like the puzzles.
The sliding puzzle. I'm just like, I love it.
I typically get a character that doesn't have like a high IQ because I'm like running around shooting.
But you
stuff.
can also spend a lot of clues to do it too, which makes me happy because like, oh, I need extra moves. Let's do it. So.
But that's the one thing about the puzzles, like which it makes sense because like your dumb jock is not gonna be as good at the puzzles as somebody else. But still, it's just like crap. We have to open up this magic door and we have to do this puzzle, and I can see it's going to take 7 moves to defeat the puzzle, but I only get 3 moves a turn, so that's at least 3 turns because the 2 turns for 6 and the 1 additional, it's going to be at least 3 turns before I can open this door. A lot can happen in 3 turns.
Yeah.
And so that's just, but anyway, but I still love it. Like, I love it for that reason because then it's like, Roy, come help me. You have a higher this. I'm going to do this part, then you come do this part.
I always pick like the smart spellcasting characters in all the Lovecraft games. Is that wrong?
And then you get mad at me when I don't give you the Bible to read, so your guy goes insane because every time you cast a spell, there's a chance you can go insane if you don't cast it properly.
I honestly just want you to read the Bible to me, Rob, and I'm just very disappointed that you wouldn't.
Look, man, that was my book, bro. I was not sharing.
He's like, that's mine. Personal. It had my name written in the on the little leather bound
I had the gold lettering, man, at the bottom.
Robert Newman.
Boom.
Boom. Awesome. What about you, Matt? What's your favorite game with events in it? And how do they play out?
Probably either Dead of Winter or Tales of the Arabian Nights. I like Dead of Winter a little bit more just because it's like you never know if it's going to come up, so you're always sitting there and it's very tense and tenuous. And then if it does come up, you're like, oh, I don't know if it's going to be good or bad. And then it happens. And you just have to deal with it. And it's quite good for making a story that's very nuanced and different each time you play a game. In its very core elements are kind of samey.
Mm-hmm.
So
I really love the way that the events in Eldritch Horror work as well, because you have so many different types of events that trigger. Like you'll have these mythos events that happen at the end of each round, like in Mansions of Madness, but then you're also like going around the map and each location has specific events tied to each city, but then you're also like there's a lot of events that you have to do to complete the missions. You have to you have to like do specific ones that are based off, like if you're trying to get a clue, you have certain events that are triggered based on that clue, and it's thematic to the great old one that you're currently playing with. So if you're fighting Azathoth, you're having to find things about comets, or if you're doing Cthulhu, you have to do all these ocean events and things like that. And there will be also just other random events that you have to do based off specifically the great old one, like, oh, you have to like go to this certain spot in the ocean and like explore Relay where Cthulhu's coming from, or oh, a certain event triggered and now there's this crazy monster roaming this mountainside, and now you have to go and defeat that monster specifically to progress the storyline and be able to finish the game. I feel like the events in games like that are pretty crazy, and the way everything like plays out. I would say Mansions of Madness is definitely more my favorite, but I definitely like the way the events work in that as well too. It's basically another game where it's like the game is the events.
Liked Near and Far.
Oh,
that was a game where like the events and stuff like that, and the storytelling, like going out and trying to find those different quest stuff and doing that story. That was a lot of fun. Like that was a good time.
There's an optional rule in Near and Far where it's like you can play with this many books for the storybooks, or you can just put like 4 extra on there. And it's like, why would we not just put extra stories out there? Like,
yeah.
Come on. I mean, I understand they're good or whatever if you want to like slow roll the game, but everybody wants more stories. So I love it.
It is good.
Awesome. Everybody in chat, let us know what your favorite game that has stories in it, or events in it, and different things like that pop up. But yeah, I guess this has pretty much been an episode. Does everybody feel good about that?
Last one, Risk Legacy. That was the first big one with events and encounters that blew me away.
Oh yeah, because different things happen.
But that was the first Legacy game I played, and that one made a big difference on me, being able to play that. And just like I remember going crazy when the 3 nuke thing happened. All of our mouths were wide open. We were just like, oh. It was so bad. It was so awesome.
That's awesome.
You know, the funny thing is, I was talking to a buddy of mine. You guys, so you know the D&D campaign, the animal, the lion, wolf, squid?
Yeah.
Sparkles, isn't that what we named?
Oh, yeah, that's when he appeared in our D&D campaign, he was Sparkles.
Yes. So one of the guys that did that to me in Game of Thrones, called me like late last week. I hadn't talked to him in like a couple of years, and he was just like, "Hey man, how you doing?" And I was like, "Bro, you have no idea what you've done. We now are doing this D&D campaign where because of what you guys have done, this creature's now in the game." And I was telling him all about the D&D thing and the show and stuff like that. But sorry, we're talking about events and stories and stuff like that. That's something I'll always remember.
So no spoilers or anything like that. I don't know that it'll happen. But I'm talking with one of our graphic designer friends, Danny, about working on some shirt stuff soon. And that's on my list of things that I want to make. If that happens someday, that would be amazing.
That would be amazing.
But that's on my list of things, of ideas that I have that I really want to do.
Yeah.
Hype.
Hype.
Awesome, guys. Well, hey. Thanks to everybody who joined us for today's episode.
Yes.
You guys are all great. We got to get this finished up so Matt can get some sleep. Look at him. He's falling asleep right now on camera.
He is pretty tired.
Everybody wish Matt good night in chat. And we'll see you guys on the next one. Hey, we stream these Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time at youtube.com/Epic Gaming Night. We want to say thank you so much to all of our amazing patrons for helping support us on Patreon and helping us keep the show running. You help us pay for the bills for all of the stuff that helps us run the podcast. And thanks for that. And also check out everybody over on Instagram, writing.newman, Shades of the Mind, and at Epic Gaming Night. And also make sure to check out Favorite Game Friday and all the other stuff over on the Dice Tower. Thanks, everybody. You are all the best.
We appreciate you guys.
Love
you. You guys are so good. Thank you so much. We love you so much.
Peace.
I would just like to thank my director and the Academy
No, man.
I don't know what
The director's like, Matt, hey, not sleepy enough. You need to look sleepier. Night.